Hello, folks. Going to talk about how long will it take us to recover from this manipulation and Hbar crisis where we went way, way, way down. Obviously, all the way to 102K before recovering right now, hovering around 113. But if you remember, we were at 115 and then we went back down to 113. Now, why is that? Well, crypto followed the stock market back up. The stock market bumped 600 points a day, and crypto rose too. But if you look at the stock market futures right now, they are down $235 or 235 points, which means they're going to lose. If the market opened right now, they would actually lose some of what they gained today. And crypto is behaving accordingly. Crypto is at 112,733. Just went down a couple hundred points while recording this video, obviously. And it will actually move with the stock market, and obviously alts will move right along with Bitcoin. So that is a bit of a problem. So we're not recovering completely immediately. Why is this not a complete V-shaped recovery? Well, remember, the whole thing began with Trump's tweet. And yes, the subsequent liquidations might have been manipulated by CZ or other characters. But the first thing is that affected both the stock market and the crypto market is that 100% tariffs. Now, Trump did later say that she just had a bad moment and would be okay. But realistically, he could just be completely making that up. And in fact, he probably was making that up. He is going to meet with Xi later, but there is no guarantee that there's going to be a good solution. China does not look like it's really willing to back down unless America rolls back a lot of the tariffs. Once again, the U.S. used the strategy of, hey, we're going to impose tariffs on everyone because that's our economic advantage. China is taking a page out of that playbook and going like, hey, we have rare earth metals that no one else has or actually can produce so fast. We're going to just squeeze everyone else's balls and say we're going to limit exports on rare earths. Of course, the U.S. military needs it more than anyone else, so it squeezes the U.S. as well. The U.S. does have rare earths, but it is not ready to produce them in that capacity, at least not yet. So there is a big back and forth, and if you thought China was just going to lay down and take the tariffs and not do anything in retaliation, then you were just being really, really naive. So that's kind of what's happening right now. Obviously, Trump, after seeing the market go down 800 points, is trying to reassure the market that things are going to be okay, and that's why it raised 600 points. But now people are starting to have doubts about what he said because obviously he could just be making up BS, which, like I said, is most likely what he's doing. So that's why the markets actually are bouncing down right now. And I do think they will probably open negative tomorrow. Hopefully, we won't retrace all the gains that we actually had today. The one good thing is oil is down below $60 again because that's going to be, it looks like it's going to have reduced demand around the world because of economic turmoil. So once again, how long before we recover? Well, if you remember, I thought we were going to really go up this month because of the crypto ETFs. The government, unfortunately, has been shut down for about 2 months at this point. So I am not too positive about the prospects right now. So the government, has been shut down for about 2 weeks at this point. So it's going to be delayed at least 2 weeks, and that pushes it back into November because originally it was the 16th of October. We were supposed to get basically confirmation on Thursday, but unless there's some kind of special thing, which I highly doubt there is, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. And since that's not going to happen anymore, I do actually believe that it's going to be at least November. Now, there are no signs of the government opening back up, and the SEC, being a governmental agency, depends on the government to open back up in order to function correctly. So however many weeks that we are basically stuck with a government shutdown is however many weeks it's going to be delayed. Right now, if it opened back up, we would probably get it around the 30th of October, around Halloween time. But if it goes on another week, we'll have to basically wait until November. Now, I do believe, as I've said in live streams and others, that we can absorb this specific shock because the markets did actually rebound. Alts obviously didn't rebound quite as much. They're still way, way down. But we can only absorb so many of these shocks. The first tariff shock, now this shock, if he does too many more of these things. Each one just delays this bull run by a whole lot. It also kills a lot of momentum. We cannot absorb infinite amount of shocks. At least altcoins cannot. Bitcoin might be able to absorb a whole lot of them because it has institutional adoption. And plus, Trump has his own eyes on crypto and has a lot of investments in crypto himself. So he doesn't want Bitcoin to go to zero because then all his stuff would actually go to zero. So, there's going to be like some governmental support. There's going to be institutional support. So Bitcoin and possibly Ethereum is going to be okay. But all these other shit coins will not actually be okay. So I think like if we get like 3 or more of these shocks, we can just forget about altcoin season altogether because people will lose enough confidence in these shit coins that they won't buy them. And we need retail to FOMO in. So if nothing else happens, which is not a guarantee because Trump is very prone to do random stuff to tank the market, we should actually recover probably by early November. That's my guess anyways. And that's assuming the government opens up in the next 10 days or so. If it doesn't open up, then delay it until mid-November. I think we can do these delays until about January, February. And then if it doesn't happen by then, maybe we just have to admit it is not happening this time. Of course, we have one more chance of May, June next year when we get the rate cuts. Now, the Fed is going to go ahead with the rate cuts, I think, this month and probably next month or in December as well. So we'll get 50 basis point cut. But if the government continues to be shut down for a long time, if we don't get the ETFs, or if Trump does something else crazy and tanks the market, that may not actually help nearly as much as we think. So we do need the government to open up just for these ETFs at least, and to assure people that everything is still okay. We definitely need Trump to stop like doing random sudden tariffs or retaliations or temper tantrums, because every time he does so, we tend to go down and it takes us, weeks or months to recover. And if we have a couple more weeks or months to recover, we may not just have a bull run, because I still think the 4-year psychological timeline is in play. Now, there's no real reason at this point that the 4-year cycle should actually apply. It's purely psychological, but that psychological component is very, very strong. If you look at Ben Cowan, he still says the 4-year cycle applies until it is broken, but it cannot be broken until at least the end of this year. So if a bull run does not happen by January, it is broken and the 4-year cycle will no longer be valid. But remember last time when we actually went down in February, when Trump first announced the tariffs, it took us until April to really spring back up. It took 2.5 months to actually revive. And this time it could take that long as well. Although this dip hasn't been as severe. Like the 1-day liquidation was more severe, but the knock-on effects have not been as much. So if it takes us, 3 weeks to actually recover, that'll basically drag the bull run probably into early November, mid-November. If we have another thing, maybe early December, mid-December. And then if we have like 1 or 2 more, it pushes up into February or March, people lose basically all hope in this stuff, or at least in altcoins, or they'll just all go buy Bitcoin or BNB or something, and then the altcoin holders will be out of luck at this point. So hopefully we do not get 2 or 3 more of these shocks. But like I said, Trump is very volatile. He's kind of random. He does these things on a complete whim without too much thinking about it. And he is very, very likely to burst again, even if it's very small at this point. So, it's very hard to tell, but my guess would actually be like early mid-November right now when we actually recover. I think the shock is still proliferating throughout the market. It'll take a full while to absorb. Plus, people are going to be watching very closely how the talks between Xi and Trump actually turn out and see if they can actually reach a deal, because these tariffs don't go into place until November 1st. And basically, if they can avert these tariffs, we'll probably have a pump back up. But it might take them a few weeks to pump the market back up that way, or if they can come to an agreement at all, because Xi does not seem to be too intent on negotiating, and neither does Trump. We all know Trump. He doesn't really know anything. He doesn't really know diplomacy outside of bully diplomacy. And if other people refuse to play by his bully diplomacy, he doesn't really have a backup plan at this point. So essentially, if big stick policy doesn't work, we're kind of stuck. And if he can't find some way to open the government back up, we're also kind of stuck at this point. So we need both those things to happen. And hopefully both those things happen by the end of this month. Otherwise, you're teetering on that border of will an altcoin bull run happen or not, because you're just delaying things over and over again. And by that, you are delaying things way too much. And past a certain point, you'll just delay it past that deadline, and then the cryptos won't pump at all. And that's really what I'm and everyone else should actually be trying to avoid, because if that happens, we're going to lose out on a big pump and lose out on a lot of money. That being said, if you buy BTC or BNB, you should be perfectly fine. Those will probably do way better than the other coins. And BTC, because of funds and stuff, funds and ETFs and stuff will stay afloat no matter what happens. And BNB, because of CZ and his manipulations and like his buybacks and burns, and basically they're taking care of that coin, that will probably do pretty well. I think BNB from cycle to cycle, this cycle, last cycle to this cycle, is pretty much the only coin that's come close or has beaten BTC in terms of performance, in terms of all-time highs, because basically BTC is not quite at twice its all-time high. And if you look at Binance's all-time high, it's actually slightly above twice last bull run's all-time high. So, if you're too afraid, buy Bitcoin or BNB. Otherwise, hold on to your alts and see if there's any other these triggers that Trump does to actually pull down the market. If there's too many triggers, jump into BTC or BNB, because if this gets delayed a couple more months, we just won't have an altcoin bull run. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.